Hi, it's Sylvester, here to answer some more random questions. But before I get into today's questions, there is a question that I answered in a previous one of these videos that I answered incorrectly. I've had some time to think about it, and I've realized that I was completely wrong. The question was, what is your favorite fast food restaurant? And my answer was Subway, and I don't know what I was thinking, because Subway is not anywhere near as good as Pita Pit. Pita Pit is amazing. Pita Pit is hands down my favorite place, my favorite fast food restaurant to eat at, but a close second is this pizza chain in Toronto and some other areas called Pizzaiolo. They make the best pizza I've ever tasted in my entire life. They have vegan options, and there's this pizza that is just dough, just crust with thin slices of potato on top of it. And that doesn't sound very good. Potato on pizza doesn't sound very good, but trust me when I say it is one of the best things I have ever tasted in my entire life. So that's my amended answer. Is my favorite restaurant, my favorite fast food restaurant is Pita Pit. Second is Pizzaiolo. Alright, Subway, get the hell out of here. Subway's good, but it's nowhere near as good as those two restaurants. Anyways, next question. I'm getting these questions from conversationstarters.com/generator.php. The first question is, if you had to give up junk food for a year or TV for a year, which would you choose? That's a very hard question for me because I love food, and junk food is objectively some of the best kinds of food. The less healthy a food is, the more tasty it tends to be. And TV, I'm going to change this question because I don't really watch TV. I watch YouTube. I've always watched YouTube. I've been in love with YouTube since I was like 13. YouTube is my home and native land. I love YouTube so much, and I don't think I could live without YouTube, so I'm going to have to give up junk food, and it would be good for my health. So, giving up YouTube might be good for my health because maybe I'd go outside more, walk around more, but I probably wouldn't. I'd probably just read instead of watching YouTube, which still requires sitting in one spot. It's very hard to walk around and read at the same time. So anyways, the long story short, if I had to give up one, I would give up junk food. And it's only for a year. I think I could do that. Next question. What is your ideal first date? My ideal first date would be a nice long walk through the park. Very scenic. It would be bonus if it was Christmas time or the holiday season, so that we'd walk through a park where it's all nice and decorated with Christmas lights. That'd be very, very pretty, or holiday lights. It's funny because my instinct is to say holiday season, holiday lights, but I know at least one person in my life who gets really, really pissed off when you don't say Christmas. They're like, this is Christmas, damn it. Stop robbing us of Christmas. Stop saying holidays. It's Christmas, damn it. It's my grandma. I'm calling out my grandma. Sorry, Grandma. I love you, but I do find it funny how much you are willing to die on the altar of this is Christmas, damn it, because there are other holidays that happen during the winter season that are not Christian holidays. And while I completely support your right to say Merry Christmas, I think there's nothing wrong with saying Happy Holidays, and I'm going to continue to say holidays or winter holidays because I do understand that people watching my channel might not celebrate Christmas. They might celebrate some other holiday that happens this time of year. So anyway, sorry, Grandma. Love you. Don't mean to call you out like this, but anywho, a nice scenic walk through the park. You get some fresh air, you get some exercise, and ample opportunity to talk to the person and get to know the person. Because if it's a first date, I feel like the primary goal of a first date is to get to know the person you're on a date with. That's why I don't like dates where we go to the movie theater, because you're not talking, you're just watching a movie, so you're not really getting to know the person. And I feel like that's a wasted opportunity. I could watch a movie any old time. A first date is not for watching movies. A first date is for getting to know the person so you can determine whether or not you have any chemistry. But anyway, I guess no disrespect for anybody who likes first dates that involve going to the movie theater, but it's personally not for me. I also don't really like eating on a first date because I'm very insecure about eating in front of people that I don't know. I'm very self-conscious. I have struggled with my weight my entire life, basically. I've struggled with eating disorders. I am a very fat person, and I'm very self-conscious about how fat I am, and so I really, really hate the idea of eating in front of somebody I don't know very well, because I don't know if they're going to judge me for what I eat or how much I eat. And that just feels really bad when somebody judges you for eating the way that you eat or for eating the foods that you eat. It's not fun. Anyway, next question. What is your biggest fear? I feel like I might have answered this question before, but I don't remember what my answer was. What is my biggest fear? What am I scared of? I'm scared of dogs. I'm scared of a lot of insects. I'm scared of being... I don't know what my biggest fear is. What is my biggest fear? My biggest fear is... Like, I don't even want to say it out loud because it scares me so much, but my biggest fear is losing my mom. So that's kind of a heavier answer than they probably intended with this question. But, yeah, I can't really think of much else. I guess another one of my biggest fears, at least currently, is losing my disability benefits and becoming homeless, because I don't know if I can hold down a job. It's been a long time since I've had a job, and I still suffer with a lot of mental illnesses and anger issues. And so especially minimum wage customer service jobs, I have nightmares about going back to customer service jobs. I genuinely do. It is one of my biggest fears is having to go back to a certain unnamed fast food restaurant that I used to work at. I literally have stress dreams about being back at that place. It didn't give me PTSD, but it certainly worsened my PTSD. Let's just say that. Anyway, this was a heavy question. Moving on. How many pairs of shoes do you own? I think I've answered that question. If you could invent I've answered that question. When you were younger, what did you want to be? I've answered that question. What do you most value in a partner? I think I've answered this question. I don't know. Communication skills, I think, is something that I most value. If I had a romantic relationship with somebody, I would want to know that they're comfortable talking to me about stuff, because one of the biggest downfalls of most relationships, from what I've observed, is lack of communication and the fear of communicating with your partner or loved one, especially about important things. So, yeah, I'd want them to feel like they could talk to me about pretty much anything. Next question. Do you prefer a quiet night at home or going out to a big party? It's been a while since I've been invited to a party, and I really feel like I want to go to a party recently. Like, I want to go, let loose, get drunk, get rowdy, make out with a stranger, just do the whole party thing. I want to party. But, like, I've had some pretty bad experiences partying. A lot of times it's not as fun as you think it will be before you go. Like, when you're about to go party, you're like, this is going to be so fun, this is going to be awesome, and then at the party, you have no one to talk to, or the people you came with leave you, or you go to a bar and you get sexually harassed by somebody, or you drink too much and you get really sick, or you start acting like a hoe and embarrassing yourself, which, these are all things that I've done. This is all personal experience. I've had some bad experiences at parties, so I should say, at the age of 31, I should be a responsible grown-up and say, I'd rather spend the night at home, a quiet night at home, a peaceful, relaxing night at home. But nah, fuck that. I want to go for a party. I want a party. Somebody invite me to a party. God damn it, someone invite me to a party. Anyway, next question. Do you think... I've answered that question. I've answered that question. I've answered that question. I've answered all of these questions. Do you like to sing out loud when no one else is around? Yes, I practice singing every day. You probably wouldn't be able to tell because I'm not that good at singing, but I do practice every day. Next question. What is the worst job you ever had? Man, every job. I've had some bad jobs. I really hated. I don't know. I probably can't get sued or anything for saying it, so screw it. I'm going to name drop. McDonald's, really toxic work environment. My coworkers were awful to me, some of them. Like there was this one coworker I had, and he'd constantly say like sexist and racist shit. And then I'd try to tell people about it, and everyone would be like, him? He's so nice. No way, he never would say anything like that. And I'd be like, somebody believe me, this guy is the worst. When I worked at Metro, I had just come out as trans, and there was this girl who worked there who would just talk constantly. She couldn't keep her mouth shut. And so the fact that I'd come out as trans, she thought that was like the coolest thing ever, and like, whoa, awesome, I know a trans person, how novel. And so like every customer that came through her lineup, she'd be like, did you know that guy over there is trans? Isn't that awesome? That guy's trans. So she'd tell like every single customer that I was trans, and then they'd come out of the store, back into the store, come through my line just so they could say some transphobic shit to me. And it was just like, I walked out of the job. I literally, one day I just left and never came back. They called me the next day and they're like, why aren't you at your shift? And I said, I walked out yesterday and I said I quit and I'm not coming back. And that was it. So like Metro itself, it's not Metro's fault that there were a ton of transphobes. It's not Metro's fault that I hate working with the general public. But that was a pretty unhappy experience. Tim Hortons is the one that I specifically have nightmares about. Even though Tim Hortons wasn't anywhere near as bad as McDonald's, Tim Hortons, it was still pretty bad, just having to deal with customers. It was just very, there's no, like, dignity. There's like no dignity in being a customer service representative, or not a representative, just working with customers. It's like they rob you of all of your dignity, and they treat you like you're just some robot there to serve them coffee. And it just, people treat robots better than they treat minimum wage workers. Like, I swear to God. At one point I worked at a meat processing plant. That was pretty bad. At one point my job was tearing fat off of chicken as it went by on a conveyor belt. I was just ripping fat off and throwing it into buckets by my feet. And inevitably fat would get all over the ground because you're working really fast and sometimes you miss the bucket and it's frozen chicken, so the fat would like slowly melt throughout your shift, and by the end of the shift you're just standing in a puddle of like melting chicken fat, and your shoes are all slippery, and there's like fat stuck on the soles of your shoes, like stuck in the tread of the soles of your shoes, and it was just nasty. And I was a vegan for 6 years, so having to work at a meat processing plant was just. And I heard some stories going around this plant. Apparently this plant made meat that was not high enough quality to sell in Canada, but we would sell our meat to places like Indonesia and other places in the world that had lower food standards, which is really messed up. Like, this is food that you wouldn't feed to your family. You would not feed this meat to somebody you loved, yet we're willing to send this over to less privileged countries for other people to consume. Like, that's just messed up. And then at one point, my job was, there were these expired this massive pile of expired hot dogs, and they were all in packages. And so I had to cut open the packages of these hot dogs and pour them into a bin. And so I was just opening packages of hot dogs, putting these hot dogs in a big bin, and I was like, what's going to happen to all these hot dogs? If we're just going to throw them away, why don't we just throw them away in their package? Like, I doubt that they're that concerned about recycling the packaging, because, I mean, nobody's concerned about recycling. No big corporation, at least, is concerned about recycling. So I was like, why are we taking all these expired hot dogs out of their packages? And then the person I was working with said, because they're going to grind them up and make them into new hot dogs. And I'm like, there's literally no way that can be true, but also I kind of believe it. I don't know. So anyway, that was a pretty bad job. Once again, my computer's about to die. It seems like every time I start to film one of these videos, my computer's on the verge of dying. So I'm going to answer 2 more questions, and that shall be it. Answered that question. I've answered that question. Have any of your values shifted over time? the amount that I value things has shifted. Like in high school, I was really big into animal rights. Now I'm not even vegan, and I want to be vegan. I still do enjoy, and like I care about animal rights still, and I do enjoy the concept of being vegan. But at the moment, I am currently not vegan, and I don't have any proper excuses for why that is. I'm just not. And so if high school me found that out, he would be outraged. One of his biggest fears was that someday I'd stop being vegan. And it happened. I got kidnapped, and that made my values shift a little bit. I became really, really into women's rights after I got kidnapped, because if you don't know, I'm a trans man, and when I got kidnapped, I thought that I was a girl, and I probably would not have been kidnapped had I been a man, or had I presented as a man. And so, you know, women are a lot more, it's way more likely for a girl to get kidnapped than it is for a guy to get kidnapped. That's just how it is. And I was, sexually abused and treated terribly by this big, awful, evil man. And so I didn't become a man hater, but that's how a lot of people saw me, because that's how people see feminists, is that I was like very, very into feminism before feminism became cool, I might add. And I'd make I'd share feminist posts on Facebook all the time, and that's why the guy that I worked with at McDonald's would always say sexist stuff to me, because he'd be like, I support women's rights, but you're taking it a little too far, like that kind of thing, where it's like, no, I wasn't taking it too far, I was just really, really into it. And he would say sexist shit all the time, and it really bothered me. Like at one point, there's the band Fifth Harmony. He was talking about how he doesn't understand how they're famous because none of them are hot, and I'm just like, so if it was a band full of all boys, would they all have to be attractive for you to think that they deserve success? Like, is that what is being good looking by your standards is what allows a person who's female to be able to have success? Like, it's just. And then he said, like, Lady Gaga, he didn't like her until she did American Horror Story, where she was really hot. And it's like, again, she's a fantastic artist. She's an amazing singer. You're telling me you saw no value in this woman until you were sexually attracted to her? And then he would perpetuate that myth where he's like, one time this girl was drowning at the beach and a guy gave her CPR and she sued him for touching her inappropriately. And like, that never happened. That is a false claim that gets spread around the internet by anti-feminists all the time. And it's like, literally that never happened. And so he'd use stuff like that where it's like, women just claim rape all the time, and it's just like half the time it's not even true, and it's just like, statistically that's not how it works. Statistically, most people who report rapes actually were raped. It's just like, it's frustrating me just thinking about this guy. He was the worst. He was just the worst. So anyways, he would say stuff like that to me all the time because he knew that I was a massive feminist, and it just bothered him because in his eyes, a feminist meant somebody who inherently hated men and just thought men were evil, and I just ran around crying sexual abuse for the sake of making good men get punished. And like, I don't know, like he just, Anyway, then I came out as trans, and my values shifted once more. I'm now very against transphobia because it's something that I deal with all the time on the internet and in real life. Not much anymore because now I look like a man. So because I have passing privilege, I don't deal with as much transphobia in the open when I'm just out doing my thing in the real world. But especially here online where I'm open about being trans, I get a lot of transphobia. That is like the number one negative comment that I get on my videos. No matter how controversial a topic, I could be saying the most controversial shit on the planet, and still all of the hate comments are going to be about how I'm trans. Like, that's all anybody gives a shit about. That's all I am, is a trans person, and it just offends people to their very core. Like, why? I'm literally just existing. Why does me being trans affect your life in any way? It literally doesn't. So now transphobia is kind of my big thing. But anyway, I said 2 more questions, so I guess 1 more question, even though my laptop is like seriously about to die. So let's try to do this quick. If you could relive any day of your life, what day would you choose, and what would you do differently? Back in 2013, when I got kidnapped, I would absolutely avoid going to the cafe I went to where I got kidnapped. That's a very easy answer. Yeah, if I could avoid having been kidnapped, that would change my life for the better. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Stay frosty. Bye.